The rise of Reid Worley continues now at Super 60, coming to you previously the Prep Baseball All-American game. Reid, man, great to see you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Reid, I got to ask you about so many things. I have so many questions for you because having gotten to talk to you at Miami, you are a delight to talk to because you're really insightful into your pitching arsenal, the way you prepare your body, and even the way you go about building up your arm. What have you been doing in the off season to get yourself ready for this big spring?
Yeah, we've taken a big emphasis on hitting the weight room, gaining a lot of weight. I think that's been the biggest step for me, and just taking it slow with the throwing process, not rushing anything, just working to it very easily, but definitely hitting the weight room is the biggest part for me.
You are incredibly comfortable in your own. It's like you're able to slow things down. It's a low pulse, but explosive stuff. I mean, from the time where I think you were only going stretch when I saw you, and they're like, oh, I'll just go wind up, and just your ability to adapt to things. How does that help you manipulate the baseball? Is that something that's just innate and comfortable for you?
Yeah, something I've always been able to do as a kid, not having a pitching cage growing up, just being able to tinker with my own things, get a feel for my own body. I think that's been the biggest help with that. So just being able to hear advice and take things how I want to take them, but just being able to adjust on the fly, I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Hey, going back to the strength department, this guy won Cherokee's Ultimate Warrior competition.
Okay.
So he's getting it done, building up the strength. You have a history of kind of needing to find your groove when you get into a start, and maybe things don't go starting as fast as you maybe want them to. How do you approach that in a showcase environment when the opportunity to go out there and show out is limited?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's a little easier. The adrenaline's there. You're going to have a ton of scouts there, a bunch of people watching you. So I think for me, I find my groove in the first couple pitches, but it really just starts in the warm-up. Having a good warm-up is the biggest thing for me.
How conscious are you, and I'm thinking back to the All-American game, you could just sense you had a plan for each hitter, and you could see kind of this is their weakness, this is how I'm going to set them up, this is how I'm going to put them away. To be 17, 18 and understand that doesn't happen. Where does that come from? Are you watching YouTube, or are you just watching the Braves and understanding these guys? Where do you draw inspiration for what your pitch style is?
Naturally, just picking things up in the game of baseball. That's been the biggest thing for me, but just hearing advice from other players, just being surrounded to people like events like these, like it's just great for me to just pick people's brains and really see where they stand at. But just that's how I learn everything. It's just good conversations.
Awesome.
90 strikeouts a year ago, set a program record. How do you approach the senior year? Do you have numbers that you're looking to hit, and maybe you don't want to make them public, but do you have numbers that obviously the ultimate number for you is to be standing as the #1 team in the state as a state champion, but do you have individual goals that are kind of needing to be met along the way?
For sure. Definitely very goal-oriented. I like to have a lot of my goals not necessarily set for throughout the season, but I like to take a game at a time and just go from there.
Any specific pitch changes we should be looking for from Reid Worley? Or, I mean, actually, just tell me. We'll keep it a secret. We won't show this to anybody.
So we added a 4-seam this offseason, so we're able to explore the bottom half of the zone and keeping it up, and the top half of the zone. So we really like that, and just being able to throw a vert ball definitely been a big addition to the arsenal.
Geez, these poor 15 and 16-year-olds coming out of sophomore literature, whatever science class. Reid Worley's already thinking about which quadrant he's going to be throwing his 17 pitches to.
When you start adding in another pitch, when the stuff is as good as it is at this point, when do you get to that comfort level when you feel like, okay, this is ready to go in game and it's ready to see live hitters?
For me, it just took this one off season, just being able to throw it and catch play, being able to really dot it up. 4-seam's obviously an easier pitch to add than a changeup or slider, so it's definitely beneficial already having those in the arsenal. But for me, it only took an off season.
Your ability to adapt, it strikes me as like it might be mid-inning where you're like, no, I figured out this pitch. Oh wow, you know what? If I throw a knuckleball, it won't spin quite. I think you'd be able to do that. So if that ever happens, you have to adjust. I give you carte blanche. Do it.
It's definitely happened in a game a couple times.
Good for you.
Kennesaw State signee Reid Worley ready to show out at Super 60. Reid, man, we appreciate it. Best of luck tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
We have a lot more Super 60 coming your way. Don't go anywhere.